Hi, my name is Razil,
And I'm Mr. Lunch.
and today we're going to be trying to answer a couple questions regarding our What's the Big Idea podcast.
It's a quite a long story, and it dates all the way back to 2018. It was a person who uploaded the episode Dave and the Giant Pickle onto YouTube, and I specifically remember eating I think dinner at that time while I found out on YouTube, and then it looked very interesting with it being vegetables and all, and so I clicked on the video and watched it the whole way through, and I got very interested, and then it piled up into when eventually joined. I joined the community basically, uh, at that point, and ever since then, I've tried finding more stuff interesting, related to VeggieTales, and it's such a brand that resonated with me since 2018.
VeggieTales has pretty much been there with my very early history. I could try to I give the long answer, talk about literally every single little thing I remember, but my mom wanted to raise my family as Christian, and she found the show about talking vegetables, thought that it would do the trick. And ever since I was a child, I was absolutely latched on. Out of actually all of the family that has watched VeggieTales, I've been the one who's been like the biggest lifelong fan. From the VHS tapes to the cassette tapes, the CDs, the DVDs, and even the theaters. Just VeggieTales was something that I found out through my parents. So thanks, mom and dad. Y'all are awesome. For me, VeggieTales was that very first show that you latch onto, right? I think everybody has a show or something in particular that for whatever reason really grabs at them. And I don't know what it was about Bob the Tomato and Larry the Cucumber that it was that hooked me so much. But I mean, VeggieTales helped me find my passion, helped me find that I wanted to do art. I remember just trying to draw the characters endlessly, and I just kept drawing and drawing and drawing them. And I feel very much that what I'm called to do, my main interest is in the art realm. And then as the years went on, just trying to find reasons why, as to why I like certain episodes, why did I like this moment, what made me appreciate that, and so forth. So that's what I would say is the impact of VeggieTales. For me, I also can't forget, all of the lessons and all of the episodes that try to teach you stuff about morality. That was another thing I remember. Um, always trying to make sure I don't disappoint Bob and Larry. So yeah, there's also that.
For me, it also resonates me on a very religious side because I was also grown up in a Catholic household where we were very religious. We'd go to church and all that. Some episodes, the message is not really tightened well, but they're still digestible for me in a way that I can understand it. It is very impactful in that way too.
I have so many memories. I could probably make an entire video dedicated on the memories I have of VeggieTales, but to keep it short, I remember watching those trailers whenever there was like a new episode coming out, and whenever there was coming soon to videos or DVDs, always being like, "Mom, I want to get it, I want to get it, I want to get it," and just being so obnoxious about it. And if I got good grades or if it was a present for my birthday, I would usually only want VeggieTales. And I remember so many Christmas gifts, birthday gifts, also some cool memories. I remember meeting Larry Boy at age 6, being absolutely terrified, but I still wanted, I wanted to meet him. This was during the premiere for Bad Apple, and I was like, yeah, I was only 6 years old. That was crazy. Feels like a lifetime ago.
My earliest memories of VeggieTales was once again when I first watched it, my YouTube channel, which helped me boost boost myself into what I'm doing right now. Some may be not so great, and some others are like, for me, finding my first ever VeggieTales DVD and Mystic Hero, cause this was when I was before I was 11, so I didn't really know much, but I did know that it had talking vegetables. So when I found a VeggieTales DVD at my Value Village, I was very proud of that, and so that is my happiest memory for me personally.
Typically, from what I've noticed, a lot of the VeggieTales podcasts around, I think there's maybe only like two. There's that unofficial veggie podcast And then there's the Pod Made You Special, I think. If there's another VeggieTales podcast that we didn't mention, sorry. Those podcasts, the unofficial one is more fandom focused. So they talk to people who are in the fandom in the online space that has small but very loyal following, I would say. And then Pod Made You Special, Lunch, you introduced me to that one.
To quote them, recovering church kids or like agnostic people.
With those two podcasts kind of feeling one is like the more analytical side and then the other one is more of the fandom side, then I just saw there was a pocket space that people, there hasn't really been people who've tried to look behind the people who've actually made the episodes, and that's what our goal is. We want to uncover the untold stories, the awesome memories working at VeggieTales and whatnot. And this stuff is, depending on who you talk to, it's like 30 years ago, 20 years ago, but I still feel that VeggieTales has a lot of untold history that needs to be discovered. So by talking to these people who actually were right there in the trenches making episodes for years and years and years, then I think that we are doing something special. We're not only historically telling the stories of the yesteryears of Big Idea, but also just having new perspectives and new ways of thinking. And that's ultimately what I think makes our podcast different from all the others.
Yeah, because this one's more behind the scenes oriented, I'd say. Well, the motive for our podcast is that people who are associated with Big Idea, even though it might be like, I don't know, maybe a year, or like they just scored one episode or just worked on one episode and they just uh did other projects. It doesn't really matter, but it's to them to tell their story about how their lives are, how Big Idea was, and how their lives were after. Because there are a lot of untold stories about personal experiences with the company and themselves. So I feel like it's to basically uncover untold stories on this podcast.
The way I've described it is that everybody has a story. It's very easy for a lot of fans to be like, Phil Vischer, Mike Naraki, and a lot of the bigger names, right? And obviously, they also have important perspectives and stories to tell, right? But it's also trying to talk to the people that are just in the credits and trying to figure out, what have they been doing? What are they up to? Their lives are so much more than just VeggieTales, which is why I want to, besides just talking about VeggieTales and their experience and their time on it, to also tell us their life and all the stuff, the crazy stuff that's gone on through it, through their childhood, their high school years, their formative stuff, to from working one major studio to working at Big Idea, or just immediately jumping on Big Idea. No matter what the case is, I still want to just uncover these people's personal stories, even if they maybe weren't as involved with Big Idea as some other people. But anyone who was in any way, shape, or form associated with Big Idea, they have a story to tell, and that's ultimately what our motive is, to uncover those stories. Besides uncovering people's personal stories, just seeing what their lives were like besides Big Idea, debunk some fake news. I'm not going to say who, but I was talking with somebody who hopefully will join the podcast on, but he said that sometimes he looks at the VeggieTales space and there's some fake news that is being circled out there. Debunking any fake news in the VeggieTales space would be incredibly awesome to do. And also just to shed light on Big Idea, because every company has their PR. Look at us, we're like the happiest bunch of people in the face of the earth. But there's also a lot of things that you don't see. And I think by just being completely transparent, completely being honest with people, I think we could see a better picture as to what Big Idea was. Really see the cog in the machine as to what made Big Idea a big idea.
Honesty is the best policy.
Veggie fans. I mean, I think anybody who loves to delve into the behind the scenes stuff. I mean, VeggieTales was that series. It made me want to look deeper. Made me want to see the animation stuff, the songs, the voices, and all sorts of those things. This podcast is definitely for people who are fans of the VeggieTales series, but also just people who are fans of animation in general. Because you have this company, maybe you may have only heard VeggieTales because of a handful of things. Well, hopefully this piques enough interest that you're like, okay, there definitely is just more to VeggieTales than just being a Christian show. We are starting to tread even more light, more facts, more information, more knowledge that previously wasn't available before.
This podcast is not inherently like religious at all. It's just mostly talking about what was it like at Big Idea, not really the religious aspect. This is for the fans of the show, or the general someone who is a fan of animation and just want to hear the behind the scenes of this once great company.
Podcast isn't really about the theology. Obviously, there were Christians who worked on the series. If those people want to tell us about, their life stories and, their testimonies, then that's completely fine. But there's also a lot of people who worked on the series that weren't Christian. So basically, if the person we're interviewing wants to talk about their Christianity, they're completely open to do so. If they don't want to talk about it, then that's also completely fine too. So fun for everyone. We're mainly aiming for YouTube. I think YouTube is going to be the main platform of our choosing. Mainly just because we're so familiar with it. YouTube is going to mainly be the version. It's going to be one of those things that you could have in the background and just listen to, and that sort of thing. It's not going to be super visually intensive or anything like that. But then yeah, we're also planning on trying to do it Spotify and Apple just to see how it goes. We're open to anyone and everyone as long as you were working at Big Eddie at some point in your life. We're just so excited because this is a completely new frontier for me. Me and Lunch personally, we are just VeggieTales fans at heart. And that is the very reason as to why we're doing this. We just hope that a lot of people come in and they get new insight, they get new information that previously wasn't available before. We're just excited to hear new people, new perspectives, and just to see how that podcast goes. Stay tuned. This podcast will be coming soon. Take care.
Goodbye, everyone.